July 16, 1969, Cape Kennedy. The air doesn't just vibrate, it hums with the weight of 400,000 people's labor. Inside the cockpit, 3 men are strapped to a controlled explosion. They aren't just pilots, they are the tip of a spear aimed at the moon. This was the pinnacle of the 20th century, a moment where government might and national pride fused into 7.5 million pounds of thrust. But as the engines ignited, they weren't just launching a mission, they were beginning a countdown for a revolution they couldn't yet see, one that would take 50 years to arrive. 54 years later, the landscape of space travel has transformed. The thunder of the Saturn V has been joined, and perhaps even eclipsed, by a new sound, the controlled roar of reusable rockets, landing themselves with pinpoint precision. The space race of nations has evolved into a dynamic arena where private enterprise now stands shoulder to shoulder with government agencies. From the moon to Mars, from national pride to commercial viability, the journey from Apollo 11 to SpaceX is not merely a tale of technological advancement, but a profound shift in philosophy, economics, and our very vision for humanity's future among the stars. To understand Apollo, you have to understand fear. In 1957, the Soviet beep of Sputnik wasn't just a scientific achievement, it was a psychological hammer blow. The United States found itself in a race it was losing. Space became the high ground of the Cold War. President John F. Kennedy, in a defining moment in September 1962, articulated the audacious goal. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Under the guidance of Wernher von Braun, NASA didn't just build a rocket, they built an industry. The Saturn V was a 3-stage monster of liquid oxygen and kerosene, a masterpiece of disposable excellence. Every piece was handcrafted, tested to the point of destruction, and then, once its job was done, cast into the Atlantic. In 1969, the cost was irrelevant. National survival was the currency. Adjusted for today, the Apollo program cost over $280 billion. It was a brilliant but unsustainable flash of lightning. The shift didn't happen in a government lab. It happened in the mind of a visionary who saw space not as a trophy, but as a destination. In 2002, Elon Musk founded SpaceX with a goal that seemed like science fiction, to make humanity a multi-planetary species. SpaceX's origins were a series of fiery craters. While NASA had the treasury behind it, SpaceX had a dwindling bank account and a team of engineers working in the dirt of a remote Pacific island. In 2008, with 3 failures behind them and enough money for exactly one more try, the Falcon 1 finally reached orbit. This was the birth of the new space era. The goal was no longer at any cost, it was at the lowest cost. And the key to that was something the Apollo engineers thought was a fantasy: reusability. The pursuit of reusability, initially met with skepticism by the established aerospace community, became the defining characteristic of this new era. The most profound difference lies in the economic math. Apollo was a cost-plus model. The government paid contractors for their costs, plus a guaranteed profit. There was no incentive to be cheap. SpaceX, however, is a fixed-price disruptor. Imagine if every time you flew from New York to London, the airline threw the Boeing 747 into the ocean and built a new one for the return trip. That was the Apollo model. By landing and refurbishing the Falcon 9, SpaceX turned rockets into airplanes. The human element remains central, but the role has evolved. In 1969, Neil Armstrong had to take manual control during the final seconds of the landing. His computer was screaming alarms, the infamous 1202 and 1201 overflows. He was flying by the seat of his pants, looking for a spot between boulders with seconds of fuel left. The Apollo astronauts were military test pilots, chosen for their unparalleled courage and their ability to manually manage complex analog systems. Today, the pilot is a passenger of logic. Modern spacecraft like the SpaceX Dragon incorporate advanced automation and sophisticated software systems. The capsule docks with the International Space Station autonomously. Touchscreen interfaces have replaced the complex array of physical switches. This frees up today's astronauts, who are as likely to be scientists and engineers as they are pilots, to focus on research and mission objectives rather than the minute-by-minute piloting of the craft. Apollo's singular focus was the moon. It was a race with a clear finish line. Once achieved, the momentum gradually waned and the moon became a distant memory for several decades. Today, the ambition extends far beyond. The moon is no longer the end goal, it is a crucial stepping stone. NASA's Artemis program aims to establish a sustained human presence on the lunar surface, but this time, it is built on a foundation of international and commercial cooperation. SpaceX's Starship is being designed to carry both cargo and humans to Mars. The focus has shifted from visiting to settling. We aren't going to leave footprints and flags, we are going to build. Apollo 11 was a proof of concept for the human spirit. It showed us we could leave. SpaceX is the proof of concept for our future. It shows us we can stay. 54 years after that incredible launch from Cape Kennedy, the roar of rockets continues to echo across our planet. The names have changed, the technologies have evolved, and the motivations have broadened. Yet, the underlying human drive remains constant, that insatiable curiosity and the yearning to push the boundaries of the possible. 50 years ago, we went to the moon to see if we were great. Today, we go to see if we can become a multiplanetary species. The roar is the same, but the mission has finally grown up. What dreams will the next 50 years ignite? The first steps on the moon were a powerful symbol. The reusable rockets of today are laying the groundwork for something far grander, the sustained presence of humanity beyond Earth. The journey is not an ending, but a new beginning in our continuous story of reaching for the heavens.